What's up, everybody? This is Simone, aka author SD Johnson, and I have the pleasure of doing another author spotlight with the amazing Aaron Walker Sr., the author of this amazing book. You guys definitely need to check it out. So, Aaron, thank you for sitting down with me today. I appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. I'm excited. My first interview about the book, so I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Glad I get to do it.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. I actually finished it up last week because schedule got crazy, but I did want to finish it up. So, but yeah, well, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've written, and all that good stuff.
I'm just a author, just really getting into it. So this is my first work. It's actually based off of a series of novellas that I combined into a full novel. So for me, this is my first full novel, full work that I've gotten out there.
Okay.
And yeah.
What's like your background? Because you have quite the extensive background from like the bio that you sent. I was like, this is like a whole celebrity that I'm getting ready.
I wish. No, I was just fortunate. So my schooling background was software development. So it's in video game software development.
Oh, that's dope.
And so, but I fortunately never worked in that field. So I've been kind of doing IT with the state and everything like that. And writing has been something that I've always wanted to try. And actually, it was when I went to school that and we had to do a game design document for a game idea. And so I used this as an opportunity to kind of resurrect this idea for Cargo, which started a lot of years earlier. So yeah, and then I was fortunate during that process to have met my writing mentor, Larry Brody, who has an extensive career in television and film, and he's mainly television. And he's worked on the original Star Trek and written for almost every iteration of it. And he just was a wealth of storytelling knowledge that was just kind of downloaded into me. I started just by taking some courses with his just to learn screenwriting. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of blossomed into where he just became an outright mentor for me. And I was just grateful for that. But I've also been working, but it wasn't, with that. And then also my co-creators, my brother, Lloyd Walker Jr. and my good friend, who's a longtime friend, who's also like another brother to me, Damon C. Roman. So it was kind of all of our brainchild is this final product that you.
No, that's dope. That's dope. And then just knowing about the game development background, you can totally see that in the imagery of the book as you're going along and building from chapter to chapter. So that's one thing that I did appreciate. And like, I'll say your social media presence on Twitter, and even on Instagram, where you're putting out the graphics and the images, it's like perfect, like the way it matches to the book, like you're able to get that visual. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate the aesthetic that you have there.
I'm glad you like it, because that was one of the things we were going for, just to kind of show some general sci-fi art. And it's kind of a mixture of some art that we found, and then also some of the character stuff that you see is from our talented artist Lee Weary, who's have been working with us for a while, even when we were doing game concepts. He was doing some concept art, and so he's all on board. So it's wonderful to get his work out there.
Yeah, I do my own little graphics, but they're nothing like yours. So I was like, that is dope. No, I love it. So okay, so you have the gaming background, and so what is the initial thing that said, inside of you, like, I gotta put this in my head onto paper? And what was kind of like your inspiration for writing? How did you develop it? What was kind of your process on getting it out on pages?
Yeah, so it was born out of the love for the genre. Like, we grew up watching science fiction. My father was big into it and introduced us. So and I'm probably a little older than you, but I
don't know about that. So I might be older than you.
So we were watching back in the day, reruns of the Star Trek, the original series, Buck Rogers, and
Mhm.
the original Battlestar Galactica,
Right. Yep.
Lost in Space,
I was
Planet of
that's
the Apes, everything you can, everything
yep.
we were just, and of course Star Wars, and Star Wars and Star Trek became my personal favorites. My brother and I had always been into that, and it wasn't until after I graduated high school that I and was in college. Now this tells you how far I go back. I was attending Cal State Hayward, which was now Cal State East Bay. But when I was
Mhm.
there, it was called Cal State Hayward, and we were that's where I met Damon. We were in a summer bridge program, and we kind of hit it off. He was already writing screenplays. And then I was like, man, we were all into the same thing. And then I introduced him to my brother, and we just kind of sat around and we kind of started pinning some of the core concepts like this, the government structure, and even the characters of Marcus and Darren came out of that. But this was all like 25 years ago. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
it goes back. So, yeah, and we were just inspired just by our love for the genre. But, life kind of takes you away as we get older and start
Yeah.
doing things. And I've been trying to resurrect the idea. And it wasn't until years later when I went back to school when I was like almost 30 that I decided to, dust this off and as part of a project for school. And I got good feedback. And then it kind of helped me build up the nerve to try it as a screenplay. And that's when I entered into the first screenplay competition, which the first version did not place anywhere at all.
Oh.
But it was a good opportunity to kind of to get it out on paper because we go through life with these things floating in our heads,
Right.
and sometimes if you don't ever sit down and act on it, you'll never get it out there. And so,
Yep.
and that was the first step was getting out there and just getting it on paper and getting it out of my head, for the first time. And then it just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope, dope, dope.
Mhm.
So let's get into the book a little bit because,
Okay.
like I'll plug it at the end. We have a
Mhm.
book clubbing coming up with the book
Oh,
clubbing fan. We're going to dive deep.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I want to give a quick synopsis if you could share. And then, like, you have some really strong lead characters. So just kind of giving, like, the background, how the specific characters develop, like, are they based off of, archetype of someone or another hero that we've seen in sci-fi growing up over the years. So just kind of give us a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, so with Cargo 3120, like I say, it was born out of the desire, to see, of the love for the genre. But back in those days when the original Star Wars was, there wasn't a whole lot of black characters and stuff like that.
Right.
Lando seemed like thought he was the only black man in the galaxy far, far away, and it was like
Yeah.
you didn't see many of us out there. So I just wanted to do something, but I love those stories, and I didn't view them as, oh, that's great white science fiction or anything. Like, it was just great science
Right.
fiction, and the characters happened
Absolutely.
to be white. And I was like, well, why can't we do the same thing and just write a great work of science fiction where the characters happen to be people with, a lot of, not all of them, but a number of the characters happen to be people of color and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. And so, you know, so with the characters themselves, they're, I guess as authors, we put some of us in a lot of our characters and stuff like that. But also for the most part, they were more like composite characters of people and experiences that we've interact people types of people we interact with, their stories and things like that that just kind of shaped into these people. And that one thing about having strong characters was something that was really instilled to me by Larry. Because when I first wrote the first versions of Cargo,
Hmm.
he hated Marcus. He hated all. He was like, come on, man. You could do better than that. He saw something in me. I didn't see it myself, but he was like,
What?
you have to. Yeah, the earliest versions were rough. So this has been in the works since 2011, and so this has
Nice.
been a long iterative process to get here. And so, then I have people like his sister. I'm the youngest, and I have sisters that are several years older than me, kind of like that similar age gap with Marcus and his sister. And
Hmm.
and 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 his sister's like a composite character of the strong women in my life, like my mother,
Nice.
my people like my sisters, and all of that. And yeah, so I just wanted it to be character focused and to be
It
more like a
definitely
character
is.
study, and put them in a in an interesting scenario, but where they get involved in something much larger than themselves. And it was really about just building characters that people, even the enemies, we didn't want them to just be generic bad guys for the sake of having an antagonist. In their mind, they needed a reason why they were doing what they were doing, and
Right.
to make them stand out a little more. With Marcus's crew, I will tell you, the original version, they didn't exist. It was when we finally I finally wrote the screenplay. The first version, I didn't have them in there. And I was like, man, something is missing. They need a crew. And I was originally going to kill them all off in the book. But I was like, because they were just afterthoughts, but they grew on me. And I was like, you know what? Nah, let's keep them around for a little while. So they now they're all like my little children now. It's like,
right, exactly.
You know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So paint the picture of Cargo 3120. Like, what do we find in this story? What is it about?
So, Cargo 3120 is about it's about Marcus, but not just him. About his life and his crew, who becomes this extended family along with his biological family, where he lost his way early on, as a youngster, and went out there and ran after that life. And in the original version, he was supposed to be like an ex-military guy who was framed and all, it was but he was like, no, he messed up, and he needed to, pay for that. And so now he's a guy trying to get it together. He's trying to find his way back, but he's struggling. And in part of that, he gets involved with some things, which is like on the synopsis, with some stolen cargo. But it's not just stolen cargo. It's the centerpiece of a much wider conflict. And even at this point, they still don't fully grasp, the extent that they're in. But it's just, so now it's about discovering who you want to be, and do you sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, forget this now that I know what's at stake, or do I strive to be different? It's about kind of redemption. It's about forgiveness. It's about a lot of stuff in there. And it's not that I went for those themes initially. I just kind of wrote it, and they just kind of emerged. So I guess it was just something that was in me, in us, not just me. Like I said, my brother, every word on that page is not just mine. It's a result of extensive sessions with my brother and Damon, just working out who these characters are. We have a lot of background stuff in world and universe building.
Absolutely.
Materials,
I think that's one thing I actually appreciated in the book, was that not all, but I've read a lot of sci-fi to where it's very action driven, very plot driven. And with this book, I feel that you took the time to build the world. You took the time to give the characters character development, as opposed to just throwing them into these scenarios and we'll see what happens. But you get to see the progression of Marcus's thoughts and his journey and how he decides to make certain decisions. And so I appreciated that in the book, most definitely.
Thank you. It's just wonderful to hear.
No, absolutely.
Because we put these things out, we don't always get to get feedback from people. So it's just wonderful to hear that you get it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like even like with I think everybody strives, like you were saying before, to have the Luke Skywalker, he's on his journey, this is the outcome, and
hero's journey.
And so with this, it's like you see a character, he is struggling a little bit. He has issues from the past kind of haunting him, and he's still like, striving for something better. And it's wrapped in this world of like futurism and just all these other elements that I think leap off the page. One thing it's kind of a pet peeve to me is to not, and I've said it before, but like, I don't like to read stories where I can't use my five senses. Like I want to smell it, see it, taste it, hear it. And I feel like you get that, in this book, as opposed to, other books that I've read that are a little bit flat in that area. So definitely appreciate that.
I appreciate that compliment, because as I told you in a prior conversation, with the background and formal writing in screenplays, you don't get to write like that. It's about, this is what they say, and then the back, and then the word, and all of the other action is just stuff. It's just a list of things that happen on the screen, and you tell your story that way. So that was one of the most challenging aspects of me, is getting into that descriptive writing, and it was not an easy process. But I'm glad you enjoyed
No, no,
what
no,
was
it
there.
works. It works. It works. That's like certain scenes that I read, and then seeing some of the graphics, like I was saying before, that you put up. I'm like, now I get it. I see exactly what he was explaining. Like this matches. It makes sense. So
Yeah,
yeah, I like
I'm
that a lot.
glad you get it. Thank you. Thank you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
So I know you said that in our prior conversation on the phone, you were saying how it was written in parts.
Yes.
So not that I'm going to give away the ending because they
Mhm.
better go out buy it and read it. You better go out buy it and read it. But
Yeah.
do you see any sequels or maybe spin-off from some of the other characters?
Yes,
Because there's one
actually,
character in particular, not going to mention till book club, and I'm like, can I get a spin-off? Just say
yeah,
it.
and I'm wondering, and I'm can't wait to see who you think it is because we do have planned spinoffs. This was intended to be a television series, so
Yes.
Ties That Bind is the pilot episode of
Mm.
3 episodes that we had written because we were originally just going to go straight to Hollywood. But Larry was straight up with me. He's like, you may want to try to build a fan base in another medium. And so he said you might like it because he had written also works of science fiction beyond screenplays and stuff. And I was like, okay, so let's do it. But yeah, this has been fully thought out, and I worked with him exclusively on a lot of this. Me, Damon, our team, what we call Team Cargo. We worked together extensively on this, and we
Shout out to
have.
your t-shirt real quick too.
Oh, thank
I
you.
hope I
This
get
is
one somewhere.
yeah.
I was like,
This is
shout out to the t-shirt.
the first prototype, and we're kind of working on
Yo,
we're working on the hats too.
let's
So
go merch.
we working on it. But yeah, it was intended to be a full thing, and I always envision, okay, now when we're rich and so like the whole thing is taken off, then we'll commission writers to do the books. So it ended up becoming we're the other way around, and I was like, now I got to be
Yeah,
the one to write the books. So
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so we I actually even have a document that explains where the whole story ends because you have to know where you're going, so you just don't end up, as Larry say, writing laterally where there's a lot of stuff happening, but it's not going to a specific destination. So we have a document there, and we have 2 planned spinoffs. One is the one that I can tell you about is going to be called Cargo 3120 Chronicles, and the subtitle is Ravens, which is the how the team first
Hmm.
formed, and it'll end on the eve of the Titan job, which is the first
Yeah.
opening one, and then the untitled one that I can't tell you about yet that is going to be parallel. That's going to run parallel to this series to kind of give more depth because we thought it might be too much to try to stuff it all in the core series. So it'll, but yeah.
That's
So
good. That's good.
and that may be in novellas, but the Ravens I want to do as a graphic novel. It's just why we have
Oh,
Lavelle
dope.
doing a lot of the artwork and stuff, so we can kind of build toward that. But if push comes to shove, we'll go probably maybe the novella route. But I'd really love to see it happen there.
Dude, yeah, keep
So
me updated on that. That's
yes,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
this is a lot more to come.
Okay,
A
okay.
lot more to come.
That's awesome. Okay. So, one last question, if we can kind of segue just a little bit. Do you
Okay.
see yourself writing anything outside of the genre? Like, do you feel led to stick within the sci-fi realm, or do you want to actually produce some content that's going to be in other genres? And the
Uh,
reason
um,
why I ask this is just I love your writing style. There's a certain I think every author has a certain voice, and
mm,
I'm not always intrigued by certain voices. And
yeah.
the way you tell the story and the type of storytelling that you do, I find very intriguing. So, do you find yourself kind of thinking of
I,
other things to write?
I do, but I'm kind of a two-punch guy. I like sci-fi, and naturally I like fantasy. So I'm a
Yeah.
science fiction fantasy type of guy. So I have so I have kind of an idea to that we had talked about years ago as well to do a fantasy series. So I'm kind of putting that. But right now I'm consumed just by I need to get it. I got so much content I need to put out with Cargo, but I
Yeah.
eventually plan to do that. I'm kind of nervous. Like Damon, like he's a real versatile writer, and he does a lot of other screenplays, and he writes poetry, and he does all the kind of thing. Call him
Hmm.
Damon the Writer, at Damon the Writer, if you can find him on
Okay. Let
social
me write that
media,
down.
and
Okay.
it's Daymond. Yeah, and
Okay.
he's yeah, he always tell me to stretch out. And we've done some collaborations on stuff that are more modern, but I don't know. I just feel most drawn to science fiction and fantasy, and it does me my heart joy to hear you say that you like my writing style, because I
Absolutely.
had before I put this out, when it was just in manuscript form of the full novel, I had pitched it at a writers conference that was held actually out here in Sacramento a few years ago, and I pitched it to two different what were they, they're like agents, and they both were intrigued by the idea, and they had me send them. One lady was like, I love it, but I decided I want to work with fiction, in the children's space, so she passed
Mm,
on it. The other one was like, oh, I have publishers that would take this right now, but because you had
yeah.
already put it out as a fan, as a novella series, you would have to
Yeah.
make these drastic changes that I just couldn't that I couldn't make. And then I pitched it to another lady, and she was like, we thought long and hard. We really want to bring you in, but she turned it down because she said your writing style is too formal for me. So I was like, wow. I'm like, I've heard of horror stories, people get eviscerated, like you can't write. It's you can go
Yeah.
back. But I was like,
Yeah.
but I thought it was supposed to be an art form also, and
Hmm.
it should be, it should be a certain flow and a rhythm to it. And that's why I'm drawn to your writing, because you get
Oh,
that, you get that as well. And
thank
it's
you.
there's like a rhythm and a flow that I find beautiful. And I think
Thank you.
it should be like, I think it should be like
Yeah.
that. We're not trying to emulate anybody. I'm not,
Right.
but it's just, that's just how it's comfortable for me. It's like, this is how I see it and hear it in my head, as if I was sitting by a fire and there was a storyteller saying, this is what happened and this is what they were saying.
Exactly.
So I do a
Yeah.
lot of things that I know they tell you not to do, like I write in the third person and
You
omniscient and
know,
all of that stuff, but I'm like,
that's the beauty
I
of
like that. Yeah, and
creation. You
that's
know
how,
that,
and that's
yeah.
how I do it. I'm not going to stop.
Exactly, exactly. I think
you
that's
know,
the beauty that,
yeah,
as a creator, you get to
mm,
whatever art form is going to be, doing it your way.
yeah.
And so I appreciate that. Like in the book, just you can tell that many stories have been told, but not like this one. And so
Well,
I appreciated that.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where can well, actually, before we even get to that,
Mm-hmm.
what's next for you? So I know we have cargo. I know we have some different things in the work that you explained. Anything outside of like the cargo realm in the future down the pipeline?
Um, right now, it's really just about this right now.
Okay.
It's just about building this brand
Absolutely.
and getting these stories out. So the next thing I'm working on is actually the second book. And I had intended to start writing that back in January, but I started the year getting sick with COVID, and then stuff just happened. So I got to, so we're just now starting, but so I'm about closing in on about 10,000 words in, but I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But so that's really just it. It's about this, so that I can eventually get to a point where we can really do this like full
Yeah.
time and get it out there and get the story out there.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's just, this
Okay.
is it. This is it right
Then
now.
who would be like your dream collaborator, whether it's author or someone in production, someone outside of your current team? Like who would be your dream collaborator to work on cargo with?
Um, I could say, currently I'm working with the dream collaborators,
That's
my
dope.
brothers, my two brothers,
Yeah.
and Larry and Lamel with the art. But if we were to get this in the movie realm or something like that,
Hmm.
I would love to see like a Ryan Coogler,
Mm.
because I like their vision with the Black Panther stuff,
Yeah.
and stuff like, and a few others that I would like to work with. People, just it's mainly people who would get where we're trying to go. Like, I mean, if I could work with George Lucas, I would. But I
Facts.
called his family. I mean, I called his business, and they was like, "Oh yeah, well that's." He was like, "But he doesn't work on anything outside of his own stuff." And I was like, "I get it, I
Wow.
get it." But but I would,
You went for the gusto. I'm
I was like,
calling you
"Yeah,
at work.
let's just go." He's a Bay Area guy, so I'm like,
Yeah.
let's you know.
I'm gonna pop up at the job. What do you want to talk about? That's
Yeah,
dope.
no, but yeah, just yeah, it's a number of people, and other authors that wrote other works of Star Wars.
Yeah.
John Jackson Miller and Timothy Zahn. If I could collaborate with
Yeah,
guys like
Timothy Zahn is
that.
dope. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
create the most interesting character with Thrawn, and so that list could be quite extensive. People I would love to work with.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So where can the people find you?
So we got the core. We got cargo3120.com as a website that I'm trying to keep up to date with some of the latest stuff. Everything is on the social media is at cargo3120. So we have Instagram, Facebook. I have a Facebook author page, which is Aaron Walker Sr. or author Aaron Walker Sr. And it was Instagram, yeah, Twitter, of course. So we're out there just trying to build it. But that's this social media thing is kind of like my kids' generation, like that.
Yeah,
I'm like
I was
trying to struggle, trying to just
Man,
get
I am
that
not
going.
consistent. I'm
So
the worst.
I'm working
the
on
worst.
it. I'm working on it. But I understand. I understand it as a tool for us
Yes.
to reach people because it's just different than the way it used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this author spotlight.
Thank you
I
for
can't wait.
having me.
No, absolutely. I can't wait for the people to get their hands on this book.
Yeah,
It was
go
amazing.
out
And yo, I'm not just saying that because like we had a phone conversation, we connected over social media. It's really a good book. So you guys will love it.
We're elated to just to hear you say that. And there's a lot more to come. And we're just looking forward to just sharing the full vision of what it is, because we put on a lot of hard work and thought into this, and I think if you guys stick with us, you'll enjoy the ride.
Oh, for sure, you got a fan, most definitely. And then if there's any way I can support in the future or now, I mean, just hit me up, let me know. I mean, whatever I can do.
This is wonderful what you're doing here. I'm looking forward to the book club thing.
Oh man, so that's another thing. Stay tuned. We got a book club in number 5 coming up. I'm super excited. So that'll be up soon. I got your book on my current read, so I'll have that going for a little bit.
Thank
and anything that you need from me, hit me up. Like we're literally in the same city. I have not had an author connect in the same city.
I was like, what's the chances of that? So we have to connect and
for sure,
and hopefully collaborate. I'll put you on the list of the I love
anything
your
you
Scion
need.
Series is good stuff so far.
Thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to finishing it and looking forward to everything, and let's get that on TV too.
Hey, look, you ain't said nothing but a word. All right. So thank you so much for your time, Mr. Aaron.
All right. Thank you for having me, and have a blessed.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.